So we thought, hello everyone. I'm Monet Masters.
And I'm Tavia Forbes.
We thought it'd be a great idea to start out by sharing how Forbes Masters was even formed and our backgrounds. And then after that, we want this to be engaging. So if there are any questions that you have during the presentation as we're speaking, you can raise your hand. And if there's a mic out there, they'll hand that to you. If not, I'll repeat the question and we can go about it that way. If not, we'll continue with what we have scheduled.
That works.
Hey everyone, again I'm Tavia, and I just wanted to share a bit about how I came to be an interior designer. I probably, as a child, I was tagging along with my dad a lot. He's a carpenter and contractor, and I just loved seeing different spaces, but I did not know that interior design was a thing.
Go ahead.
Thanks. I didn't know that interior design was a thing, a real career, and so I went to school for business, and I studied business and studio art, because wanted to be creative. And like, just fast forward, I'm trying to give like the cliff notes of this. Fast forward, I moved to Atlanta after I graduated, and I was working during the recession in a job that I hated, and I just decided to quit. And I gave them a 2 weeks notice, and they said, well, we need a month. So I stayed for 1 month, and 2 weeks into that notice, I was actually helping a friend, a wedding planner, with designing their event. And I met Myleik Teal, who is now my mentor, and she said, you did a phenomenal job. She's like, you're designing my townhouse. And I was like, well, that works because I just quit my job. And that's just how life ended up working out. After I worked with her, I was referred to her friends and friends of friends, and I have been a designer since 2010, just from that one meeting. And fast forward a few years later, I was called to design a salon. I wasn't very clear on the project, and come to find out they already had a designer, and that was Monet.
The plot thickens. So I did not know what interior design was. I didn't know it was a profession. And so while in junior college, I probably was in junior college for as long as I could be because I had absolutely no idea what I wanted to do. I then started to watch TLC and these home networks and fell in love with interior design. Decided to attend SCAD in Atlanta. When I graduated, I landed my first corporate job. I worked at a hospitality design firm and felt that it was everything but what I learned, everything but what I thought I was going to be doing. And so I quit a year later, struggled for 2 years trying to establish myself as an interior designer or entrepreneur. And then by the end of that second year, I started to gain some interest. At that time, I got called to do a salon, and I didn't know what I was doing in terms of the technical construction piece. All I knew is I just designed the hell out of it. It was beautiful, it was colorful, it was eclectic, the client liked it, but once the presentation was approved, it was stagnant because I didn't know how to pull the contractors together and implement. So long story short, the client calls me in and she says, hey, I'm worried about the project. Can we bring someone in to mediate? At this time, at a very tender age of younger than now, and I'm proud to say I'm 37, I was offended because my ego was hurt. And I was just like, you want to bring another designer in my project? And so we ended up meeting at a coffee shop. I came in late with an attitude. I was very uncomfortable. I wanted it to end as soon as possible. I think I was just very curt to Tavia even. I was like, I'll call you when I need something. And she's like, no. But at the end of that, she stood after the meeting, stayed after the meeting, and basically was just like, hey, I understand completely. We vibed, and when I left, I Googled her, and I was like, who is this girl taking my job? And then also learned that she was a Jamaican girl like me. She had eclectic taste and design style like me. And so I called her up because at the time my goal was to thrive in the interior design industry. And I called her up and I said, hey, whenever you're in Atlanta, because she was primarily working in New York at the time, whenever you're in Atlanta, let me know how I can assist you. I'd love to help and learn from you. And that was very hard to do, seeing that she had just took my job. But like I said, my focus was to learn and grow.
I did not know that was why she was calling. I thought she was calling to curse me out because I took her job, but that was not the energy at all on the phone. And it was in that moment I realized, wow, she's such a big person for even taking that step to create a bridge or an opportunity. And in that moment, you created a bridge, an opportunity for where we are now, because I don't know if either of us knew where we would be without that meeting and that relationship. And we got thrown onto a job together. I was in New York and I asked Monet if she could take a consultation, and she went in there immediately, landed the job, and I was back in Atlanta that same day. And we started working together and realized that this is fun. We had a good time creating and executing the project, and we have been busy ever since.
Thank you, thank you. I think we really wanted to start there because I think as creatives and artistic people, the idea of collaboration can be difficult. The idea of sharing creative license is very difficult when you want to be the main creator, and we have stories to tell on that front too at the start of the business. But it is what propelled us, and it is what helped us to grow and get to this point. Like Tavia said, who would have known where we would have been? And I'd like to think that we are where we are now because we have authentically, very unapologetically have been ourselves the entire journey. And in a interior design community in Atlanta that is not so greatly representative of brown people, it's a true testament to be where we are today, but it's an even greater testament to say that we did it unapologetically without trying to fit into anyone's mold.
We grow our business as we grow ourselves, and when we started, we were quirky young DIYers, and as we grew and matured as women, our designs grew and matured. I think we're a little more tailored, a little more sophisticated, but we always, from the very beginning, infused our culture, our style, any which way we could do it, whether we were painting walls ourselves. Before we had a wallpaper line, we were doodling and scribbling on clients' walls and creating patterns and murals. Well,
And with
we're on
it,
our second collection.
with the wallpaper line, a lot of opportunities that came to us, they came organically. Thank God. And in regards to the wallpaper collection and a few other opportunities, we just decided to ask, like, why not? It's either a yes or a no, but at least we know if it is a yes, and now we have an opportunity to collect royalties and all of these other opportunities. So with the wallpaper line, we actually reached out to Mitchell Black, which is one of the few female Black-owned wallpaper distributors in the country. And we asked if we could do a wallpaper line with them, and they said yes. And it is now, I mean, I don't know the percentage in which it contributes to our take home annually, but with no effort, it is now helping us to continue, to keep the lights on. And so again, just not losing your hustle and understanding that as creative as we are, when you start to really impact certain industries and you're getting popular, there's always someone else to come and filter in. And so never losing that hustle and always having, the mentality and the stature of, I'm gonna go for all of it, I'm gonna go out and see what all I can obtain and gain. And I think that that's what we continue to try to do. We are not the best at celebrating all of the things that come about. Amari mentioned Iconic Home. before we came out. And originally, Iconic Home was birthed through the Black Interior Designers Network. Um, and Architectural Digest approached them with an opportunity to collaborate. And so we did that, but out of that also came a book, and it is one of the first coffee table books that feature all Black interior designers across the country, which is amazing because a lot of the designers in the book are designers that we find to be mentors or that we look up to. But it's a big deal. It's sold around the world, and to be in it means, it just speaks volumes to our work and to the hard work that we've done.
And to be in a book with designers that we've long admired and that we look up to. And another fun opportunity that we got recently was to collaborate with Architectural Digest, who is a huge champion for, I think, the Black design community. And we've had a really great relationship, and that came, and I'm kind of going off topic for a second, but that relationship started to build after at the beginning of the Black Lives Matter movement, and we made a post because we felt inclined to speak about what was happening, and Architectural Digest reached out to us and said, can we repost this? And that built some kind of like, not necessarily partnership, but a relationship with a brand that's now looking at us as leaders in the design community.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just going to go into Ruggable. Well, and then years later, we were collaborating with them again in collaboration with Ruggable, where we get to design a pattern. But when you were speaking about the wallpaper, a lot of the design is very collaborative. You're working with an entire company based on your vision and so on. So again, like just sharing, working together and being in community with designers around you and working with other brands, or will help grow your own personal brand if you remember to just be accepting of other voices, other opinions, other perspectives.
It'll also just help perfect your design. I was always taught in school that whatever you design first. I had this one professor, whenever we would bring him work, he would just redline it and say, what else? And he would do that at least 2 or 3 times. What else? What else? Add another layer. What else? And the idea was just to keep pushing you to think deeper about what you're doing. And I think that that's how we treat our clients. We are looking to really get to know them to like great depths, and in order to do that, is that better? Okay. In order to do that, we're asking a lot of questions. We're putting a lot in front of them in order for them to respond to and things like that. But I wanted to go back to the BLM post because it was a time that was really scary for us. Like I said, the industry is very white, and to speak up when a lot of our vendors and partners and colleagues are watching our page, to speak up on such a public political matter in so many different categories was terrifying. And so I remember Tavia and we showed up to this install, and our faces both looked very heavy. And I started to type up something. I shared it with Tavia, and we both decided that we just had to share, our sentiments. And we knew that it would maybe result in losing some followers, like life goes on. But we had no idea that to the magnitude, we had no idea that we would gain to the magnitude that we did. We gained partnerships, and we also gained a lot of followers. And, let's be real, when it comes to social media, that is your portfolio these days. That is your website. And so it was a really, really big deal. And I think that just kind of continued to reiterate to us how important it was to be authentic instead of trying to fit the mold. And that's really what we wanted to talk about primarily here today. Because again, as creatives, partnership is amazing, and whether you're working with a company like Steelcase or whether you are an entrepreneur, it's great to have people on your team. But at the end of the day, when you show up authentically and as yourself, in our experience, it has proven to give you more opportunity within that industry and within your company and outside of your company. Amari with the questions? Does anyone in the audience have any questions?
I can start with the first one, and then if you guys do have questions, how about we do this? Can you line up at the steps? If anybody here has questions that they would like to ask Forbes Masters, and that way I can have you guys just walk up here and talk directly into the mic. But Monet, you mentioned your time in junior college and attempting to figure out like what it is that you wanted to do. I still have this list of questions, but wanted to ask this one briefly. What was the journey like for you both, figuring out what your interests were, and then what second did like it just pinch to you that this is what I meant to do? I know for me as a professor, we have a lot of students that may be studying a particular major, but even with the major they study, they're uncertain about where that will take them career-wise. What moment did you realize, you know what, I am in the space that I am meant to be in, where I can make the biggest splash and the biggest impact, and I am just gonna go in this direction going forward?
You know, for me, I felt like I just immersed myself in all things art, and I was just waiting for the light bulb. But I was very intentional about the company I kept, the different things that I did. But I literally was watching an episode of Trading Spaces, and I was like, are these actors, or like, do they get paid? And I just looked up interior design, and I'm like, duh, like everything that you experience is designed, like someone designs that. But before that, it was just, you know, it was like lawyer, medical, be a doctor. It was just, you know, all of these heavy hitters that I did not connect with. So it took me watching TLC and doing some research on my own to realize like this is an avenue. And then immediately I connected it with my desire to critique and analyze every space that I'm in, and understand the psychology behind it. When I started to take some of those base art history classes and things like that, I also got to know myself a little more in how I connected with this industry or this medium of design.
I don't know if it was a particular moment, but just growing up and always being around things being constructed, I was very interested in how you can transform a space and how that affects the people in that home or that business. And even then watching TLC and HGTV, it didn't click until I had the opportunity to design a space for someone outside of my family or outside of my immediate circle, and realizing that this can be an actual career, working with my mentor at the time, designing her space. And I think that was when that project was done and I saw the end result of what I was able to help curate and create, was when I decided that this could be a real thing. And it just kept happening. I just kept falling into designing.
I have one more quick one before I let everyone else ask. Brittany, I know that, sorry. I know that you're of Jamaican descent. Tavia, I know that you're also of Jamaican descent, similar to myself. How was it coming from an immigrant family to the United States, pursuing a field that isn't necessarily prominent in the country that our family comes from, explaining to them what you wanted to do, and then persevering? Because a lot of the talk has been around being the sole black person, but there hasn't been much mention of how do Jamaican families or immigrant families respond to career choices that aren't the traditional route to them, and how did you guys persevere through that?
I think I'll go first because I was raised in the States. I was born and raised in California. And so I was a very emotional, very angry child and teenager. So when it came to telling my parents that I was gonna pursue interior design, I think they chose their battles. Like And I'm not to say, like, I'm not at all trying to say that I bullied my parents, because Lord knows there's no such thing. But I think how my parents are, they just kind of talk behind my back, and they're like, and then they'll just try to like gas each other up to be the one to say something to me. But, you know, I'm really appreciative and thankful for them, because no one questioned, you know, how was I going to make money? Can I make money doing this? I think they were more so just celebrating the fact that I decided on something rather than being at community college for 3 or 4 years. So thank you, Mom and Dad.
I think I have like one distinct memory when I was doing something I shouldn't have been doing on a project because I was very hands-on. I was putting up a light fixture, and I called my dad, who's a contractor, and I asked him some question about how to do so and so. And I just remember him he just kissed his teeth. So he said, so you mean to tell me, Miss Sen, you go to college and you turn contractor? Like, he was so mad. And I was like, well, yeah, now that you put it that way, kinda. That's exactly what happened. But my parents are very, very supportive, and they're also creative and so on. But my mom wanted me to be a doctor, but she knew she couldn't get me to do anything I didn't want to do. But there were times when I would hear that they would talk about me behind my back, like, what is Tavia doing? Why is she doing this? This doesn't make any sense. My sister would say, she's just like, if it doesn't make dollars, it doesn't make sense.
I remember that saying.
I was like, relax. But they're all like very proud of me now, but it was like getting them along the way to just understand what I was doing and where I was going with this. But they were very supportive, I'll say that.
You know, even now, Tavia and I have been in business for, you know, a decade or more. And, you know, our business is established and we are, you know, growing, but we're also growing as people. And so Tavia is becoming very interested in the environment and just being more resourceful. And I kind of want to get back to, you know, the other arts. And so it's like just allowing for the universe or God to kind of allow that light bulb to come for you, but you have to just immerse yourself in all the different things. Like, be intentional about how you spend your time and just playing with paint versus oil, like, you know, doing the collage art, just doing a little bit of everything and seeing what sticks for you.
I just want to say that I'm proud of you guys and the stuff that you guys continue to do. I'm going to open up to some guest questions. Copy.
Thanks, Omari. So my colleague, Omari Souza. Full disclosure, my question is informed by the fact that I am very much in love with and married to a residential interior designer in Dallas-Fort Worth.
Oh.
And I get in trouble for cussing at the TV when my Chicago Cubs play very badly.
Oh.
She gets in trouble for cussing at the TV at HGTV and TLC. I'm like, darling, you gonna throw a brick through that thing? And her point is, or what she says all is just, it's not real. That's not how it happens. They're creating a false perception and a false reality. So my question is, it's just sort of a two-parter. How do you guys walk, talk, mentally massage your clients through that know what you've seen isn't real? And then the other thing that my wife and her business partner run into all the time with all kinds of clients in all over Texas is that, and I think we're living in a time now where so few people understand, you know, you talk about your father being a contractor, so few people understand what it actually takes to make things. There are no angels dancing on the head of a pin. There's nobody waving a magic wand. So how do you talk who you work with through those realities of HGTV, TLC, it's painting a false picture, it's not real.
Yeah.
And it's not an easy thing to make something.
Right.
Much less design something.
Yes, I absolutely agree. But, you know, I'll take the first question. It is our job. If you are an entrepreneur and you are asking people for their money, it is our job to educate our clients. And so from social media to our, you know, emails to how we show up to how we take consultation calls, it is our job to always inform the client, and even to this day, after many years of business, we're still trying to do that and perfect it. But it's just over communicating and letting them know, setting the expectation so there is no room for you to establish your own. Like this is what it is, this is what it's gonna be, and then Tavia says it nicer, and then and then we're informing our client as to what each step is. But I think it's our jobs to inform our audience and our clients as to what to expect when working with us.
That's when you toed the line between being a creative and being a business owner. You have to have your standards, your practices, and everything documented. We're still working on that. And being able to onboard our clients into our culture, how we do things. And if you're working with us, you're going to do it our way. And it's a part of the process. So yes, over communicating and making sure that you're very confident in your own process so that way you can communicate that.
And I'll just say one more thing to that. It is so difficult in Atlanta, Georgia, to work with Black people within our industry, because it's one thing to have the talent and the creativity, but you have to also invest time in learning the business, the structure, the demographics of your area, what your competitors are doing. It's not enough to just get a client and get money from that client. But if that client, like Tavia said, is now giving you more clients, you never have to do anything with social media. You never have to market yourself. I admire those creative people that you never hear about, but are multimillionaires, because their clients, are doing the work for them. And so you can do half of the work just by, following up with an email, I don't know, checking in with your clients, sending flowers, just, saying happy birthday. Those things go a really far way. It's business tact, and your customer experience is one of the most important elements of your project.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you for the question.
All right, good afternoon, ladies. I am Sanaya Malbrough, a graphic design major here at TSU, a current junior from Atlanta, Georgia. Shout out to them. Hey, y'all. So my question for you all is, where do you see yourself in 5 to 10 years within your business?
In 5 to 10 years, Forbes Masters is still established. We have a line in Target. We have many more royalty deals. I am somewhere living my Yellowstone life. Maybe a bed and breakfast for people who want to listen to Sound Bowl. Tavia's probably on a farm somewhere. On a farm as well.
Yeah. We want to retreat into nature. We've done a lot of work in with helping build the built environment, and so going back to nature and really enjoying a new lifestyle, I'll say, a little bit more rustic. But Forbes Masters will still be around.
For us, we get immersed with our clients. It's really important that we really understand the expectation and what they want, and getting to know their design style, because they don't know these things. And when you really do that and you really invest that time, it's exhausting. You're taking on someone's energy. You know what I'm saying? We are their therapists, we are their everything. And it should be exhausting if you're designing and curating for someone else. And so I feel like at the end of the day, as colorful as our designs are, our homes are very neutral. Although I love color and layering, our homes are very neutral. And, as you just heard, retirement looks like retreating and just getting away. So yeah, thank you for the question.
Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. Yes, sweater.
Thank you. My name is John Brown the Sixth. I'm a senior UX designer, yep. And collaboration for designers and entrepreneurs and probably everyone here is a very, very important skill that is sometimes overlooked. In difficult moments, especially as designers, we all have egos and we want to say, this is my project, this is my application, right? And you guys did say you kind of got off to a rocky start, and I think some of the best relationships start that way because there's resolution. And I was wondering if you guys could share some tips with us with how you manage resolution and conflict on a day-to-day basis as you, navigate success throughout your business?
I think the best way to resolve conflict is to be self-aware. You can't control anybody but yourself. And so you control to what depths you're able to understand or empathize with someone. And I think that all comes once you've done that for yourself first. Otherwise, you are constantly, in my experience, I feel like you're constantly armed and feel the need to defend yourself. And I feel like that most of the time comes from not knowing who you are and not understanding your values. So in the beginning, yeah, I feel like I've always kind of been that type of person. But in the beginning, Tavy and I would be on site, and it'd be like, why are you doing it that way? And Tavy'd be like, because this is how you do it. And I'd be like, okay. But I think looking to understand where she's coming from, never taking things personal, but just taking it as information, it really helps. One day Tavia came to me and she expressed something about our process of design, and it was new to me. And I was like, okay, well, cool, let's just do it differently. But I think anyone who felt like they needed to defend themselves, or someone who felt like they didn't have stake in the company, that they needed to be the leader, would result in them feeling like they need to defend themselves. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, thank you. Also, Yellowstone is a top-tier show. I'll see y'all on the ranch.
Okay.
Hello, it's me again. So my question is, it's kind of a long question. So how do you stay connected to your work, and how do you keep yourselves going even when your future seems unclear and you're not motivated yourself?
Oh my. Would you mind repeating while I think?
So how do you guys stay connected to your work? So what I mean by that is, how do you guys stay in interior design without getting distracted into other things that may spark your interest while doing interior design? So for example, let's say you end up going to a client's house or something, and you're designing and everything, and as you're doing that, you're building that bond with that client, and as you guys are talking, it kind of like sparks something in you, but you're kind of unsure of whether or not you should follow it or not, only due to the fact of kind of building your brand on interior designing and building that stable foundation. How do you stay in that box? Or let me not say box, but how do you stay in interior design without branching out too far or limiting yourself to only interior design?
I think that with all creative ventures, it's important to explore different mediums. So I love painting. I love painting walls, and it's something that we just incorporated into our projects. Tavia loves construction. She loves hard materials. So I kind of pull back a little bit to allow her to have that moment when we have those particular projects. So just constantly being informed and aware of where you are and what you need, and seeing if it could be incorporated in your project. But, looking at some of the things that we saw earlier today, some may be painters, some, may practice different mediums. That, I think that's also going to lean heavily in how tired or how energized you are. At the moment we take someone's money, we are inspired. Right. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. They're expecting us. Well, one, we're getting paid, but they're also expecting us to hold our end of the bargain. And so they are our inspiration, and so long as they are an active client, we're constantly checking in with them and just trying to meet the expectations that were established. But as a creative, I do think that constantly exploring different mediums, just going thrift shopping and looking at different things is really important. And stepping outside of your industry as well, helps to energize me.
I also find it very helpful to focus on the task at hand and what that project is. And if you feel like you can get distracted and wanting to go in a different direction, say to yourself that I've made my decision on what I'm going to do here, because you'll have an opportunity to exercise that other idea somewhere else also. You want to be able, well, if for a job, you want to get the job done and do it well, but and you want to be the most creative at that same time, but really, really focusing on who the client is. Well, that's helpful for me personally, who the client is and how are you going to create a space that's going to be like reflective of them and turn them into a space, and really try to imagine, like, what I'm saying is, like, you have time. You'll have time to get to use that other idea somewhere else in another way, but trying to stay focused on your task at hand is really important to be able to finish a vision and allow it to be complete.
Okay, thank you.
Another thing that we developed, and I'll end with this because I know I could be long-winded. Another thing that I'll say is we learned over time to categorize a project. It's either profit or it's either a portfolio piece. And oftentimes for that portfolio piece, you might need to put in extra work, put in extra hours that you didn't account for, put in some of your own resources because you know it's hot and you know it's going to get featured, and it's a portfolio piece. You're a lot more lenient to not adhering to your structure or practices. But if it's a profit project, oftentimes for us that means this client is really engaged, you know, they're very particular, and so we have to make the client happy. We have to make sure it's something that they want. So even though this is not something that I would do, because I understand this is a profit project, I'm just going to make sure that my client is happy. Profit projects and portfolio projects are completely different. And I think that could help along the way as well, understanding the difference of the two.
Yeah. The one thing I want to say too before we close, adding or contextualizing my pride in the work that you guys do and the success that you guys have had. You guys may not know, they've mentioned it briefly, but they didn't just move into a new industry, they also relocated to a new city. They also had family members that were from different countries, so there were layers to the success that they had. You guys not only forged a frontier into industrial design, but you established your interest in separate cities and separate states. You guys found each other and reestablished yourselves in Atlanta, Georgia, and have found nothing but success since. The fact that you guys are Jamaican American, similar to myself, and you are doing the things that you do for me from a representation standpoint, so warms my heart. The fact that, Monet, I've known you for as long as I have, and I've been able to watch from a distance the success that you've had, the new lines that you guys have dropped, and all the places that your stuff has been featured. I find that to be amazing, and the perseverance and dedication that you guys continue to put into your craft annually, I think it's extremely commendable. So if anything else outside of all of the other gems that they dropped on you guys, I want you guys to fully embrace and understand the level of hard work and sacrifice and emotional weight that went into them being where they are today. So with that, can we give them a round of applause?
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
No worries.
And we'll be back next year to talk more details about our stuff.
Don't threaten us with a good time. We're going to hold you to it.